Hey guys.
Hey.
We wanted to talk a little bit tonight about employee engagement. We saw something recently on LinkedIn where, and we've seen this before, like this just kind of,
It's not a new
it just kind
concept.
of tweaked us to talk about it because it just came up again, where companies are taking employees on these like retreats.
Right.
And I'm not really clear on what the purpose of it is, if it's for employee engagement or whatever, but really the moral of the story was,
When it's a very specific retreat. This isn't like a
well, it's not
growth retreat. It's not
if you think of a retreat should be really around
removing yourself.
Yeah, like separating yourself from work and actually going and doing something for the employees. And I think if you actually sat down with employees and said, what does a retreat look like to you? They'd give you a very different depiction of what a retreat looks like than sometimes what they're forced to, for lack of a better phrase, to attend. And the purpose of this retreat was to go and understand what the value is that they bring to their customers. So, I mean, in my mind, in our minds, we've talked about this. If you want to find out the value that you bring to your customers, just ask them. They're the people that are going to tell you where you're doing an exceptional job or where you're messing up bad.
Right. And if you're looking for, and I think this is part of this like conversation that we wanted to have, is they're looking for extrinsic value, extrinsic sources to tell them that they're doing a good job. So if you're looking for that extrinsic validation, amazing, great. But going on a retreat to give that to your employees is like, what if you just brought in a handful of happy customers and had like a thing?
But even if they're not happy, like just like pause that for a second.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but just it's interesting because you bring in you go to a retreat and you bring in some consultants. So you're paying a bunch of money to send the employees on a retreat. Then you're spending a bunch of money on consultants to facilitate the retreat. To
tell them that they're
and the consultants, if they're good consultants, are going to be pulling information from these employees and asking them these questions that helps to validate, like, why are you good enough? Why are you smart enough? Like the self-affirmation thing, so that everybody can come to the conclusion that, we're doing a good job. And it's a lot of like, self-back-patting of what you're doing. But
why would you pay someone?
That's the thing.
To really amp up your employees for doing a good job when you have customers who literally pay to have your employees do a good job. And if they are, you don't have to pay the customers to then tell them,
get the testimonials from the customers. Exactly.
That they're doing a good job. It's like a double-edged sword. It's like, who the hell are these consultants? Because they come out of nowhere. Like they've been hired by the company. Great, whatever. We're consultants, so I'm not trying to shoot ourselves in the foot, but also I'm trying to call out consultants who are like, yeah, we'll show up and like say certain stuff, because you have customers who could say it in a much more meaningful way than any paid consultant could.
And actually, because they've got skin in the game, unlike a paid consultant, the skin in the game that the consultant has is to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
So a consultant that's going to be invited to something like that, but a consultant that's invited to something like that would look at it like, what's the objective of this? And again, if it's just self-backpatting, they should be turning that down if they have any level of integrity. Because at the end of the day, if you brought in the consumer, you brought in your end customer.
To bring in your customers.
Because your customers
really enjoyed
the customers actually are the ones with the skin in the game, because they're the ones receiving the services or the products or whatever it is. And they're going to tell you where you're knocking it out of the park, and they're going to tell you where you're not.
Yeah.
And that's invaluable information for you to absorb, to understand, that's great feedback. And if it's positioned, if you want to hire a consultant to go and facilitate that discussion.
Facilitate the customers and employees.
Exactly.
And facilitate what's going on between the two.
Yeah.
That would be way better money spent.
It would be. So,
because it's not one-sided.
Yeah.
It can't be pro-employee. It can't be pro-consumer.
Yeah.
It's honesty, and sometimes I think honesty gets really shortchanged.
Well, and from an employee perspective, it is absolutely great to get that pump up. But that pump up from a consultant or from a facilitated closed off session in a vacuum compared to a session with your actual customers where they're like, hey, I love what you do here. But this whole experience could be improved in these different ways. And thank you for inviting me to come and actually have a say.
Yeah.
So that you can, and then the proof is in the pudding, because you can take that away and then you can demonstrate to that customer that we heard you.
We listened.
We listened to what you were saying.
We didn't hire somebody for gobs of money
to
tell us what we wanted to hear. So we're not listening to anything that our customers have to say. We're listening to our consultants.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different ball game.
Totally.
You're not even, it's not the same playing field, because the consultants have something totally different to say than the actual customers. And at the end of the day, as a company, I'm going to get really who are you serving? The consultants or the customers?
That's exactly it. And
so the consultants will tell you whatever the hell you want to hear, or whatever you're paying them for.
Yeah.
But if you invited customers to that, and I don't care, pay them. You should pay them to be there.
Well, you've incent them in certain ways to get them to come in, because people's time is valuable, for sure.
They aren't going to just kiss the employee's ass.
No.
Because they're an actual customer. They have expectations.
Exactly.
And so if something's not working, they're 100 times more likely to pull out the flaws, to clap what's going right, but to also focus on what's not going right. And that's the big kicker is, yes, you should absolutely celebrate the victories, but you should be cognizant of the mishaps, the shortfalls.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know.
And what I find interesting and confusing at the same time is that a lot of times these things that we've read are positioned from the perspective of the leader. So the leader, who generally is involved maybe with a group of leaders or whatever, to orchestrate the retreat, is the one that is posting or celebrating about the retreat, but you're not hearing from the employees about how fantastic the retreat is.
Well, you're never hearing from the customer.
You're never hearing from the customer.
Oh, thank goodness.
That they went on this retreat.
This company I work with went on a retreat.
No, what you would hear.
And now they treat me better as a customer. You literally hear it from the voice or the standpoint of the leader who's like, I did it.
You know what you actually, you know what you actually hear from the customer is, why did you spend that money on all of that stuff? Because how does that help me?
Yeah.
You just spent whatever thousands of dollars to send this many
people.
And
my shit's still the same.
And nothing's changed for me.
Still getting the same service.
So that's great. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
Where's my benefit out of this? And I think it gets lost. And I think kind of maybe another vein on this, and maybe this needs to be another post at another time in the interest of time, but is this celebration of people hitting targets. It's kind of it's a similar yet different kind of topic, but you see all the time, everybody like, congratulations that Johnny hit his sales targets for the quarter or the year, and he gets to go off and do these things.
How did that happen?
But what you don't see is the celebration for
the customers hitting their
what the
targets.
Customers hit their goals.
Yeah.
I mean, if Johnny does his work, and I'm sorry, Johnny, if you're the guy, I've just picked a random name out of my head, but honestly, if the customer that you're serving, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, are they achieving their targets?
Yeah.
And are you celebrating
in any industry?
In any
like,
industry?
did they hit their fitness targets? Did they hit their financial targets? Did they get a mortgage? Did they buy a house?
Is their relationship stronger?
Yes.
Like, there's a multitude of things, but it seems like that doesn't get celebrated. Right. But and don't confuse the fact that employees that have targets, that hit their targets, that's absolutely critical that they get recognition. 100%. No one's suggesting that they don't get recognition for that, because if you're in an industry that has
financial targets, which is,
or any sales targets, any goals, you got to achieve these certain things for whether it's for pay or but whatever it is. Recognition, that's part of the employee experience, that's part of employee engagement. They need to be acknowledged.
For sure.
Their employees, their leaders, their employers need to take the time, whether that's in a private setting or a public setting. I mean, do that on social media.
Yeah.
Pump them up because they deserve it.
Also focus on how they got there and the big wins that they got, their customers, their clients, they got them to that place, because that is irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Because without their customers getting a win, their clients getting a win, Johnny doesn't get his target.
Exactly.
And if the customers weren't getting a win for that person, that employee, to reach their targets, there shouldn't be a celebration.
No.
Because if you're not winning for your customers, well, the financial gains, that's a short-term solution.
It's a matter of positioning, because
one should lead to the other.
If I have sales targets to hit, let's say I work at a car dealership and I have a certain quota.
Yeah.
And I reach my quota. Well, if I reach my quota,
by
let's say, and I mean,
I've
never worked in the car industry, so I could be completely talking about my ass here. But
selling
my
7
perception,
old ladies Ford.
Well, no. What I was going to say,
need.
what I was going to say though, is if I have a sales quota of selling 10 cars, just as an example, I have a sales quota of selling 10 cars in a quarter. So, in the first 3 months of the year, I got to sell 10 cars. But I sell my 10 cars, and let's say I sell 15. So it's like, yay, Rick did a fantastic job. Like, he blew his quota out of the water. But in the meantime, I interacted with 500 potential customers, and of the 15 that I sold, I pissed off all the rest of them to the point where they're just completely dissatisfied as a consumer. Yay, I'm getting all the accolades.
And the other ones, you sold them something that has literally nothing to do with what they need.
Exactly.
Period. End of story.
It's the emphasis.
I mean, they needed 4 wheels.
Yeah.
But they did not need 4-wheel drive 4 wheels. Or they didn't need...
And I'm super passionate about this because I care about the employee. We care about the employee.
For sure.
We care about the customer. About making sure that they get the experience that they deserve.
That
and they get the
everybody
accolades that they deserve. But so many of these positioning statements is just, the salesperson did a fantastic job.
Dollars.
But how can you take that dollars result and convert it into, you know what? Rick changed the lives of 15 people that he sold cars to. He got them in the right car for the right need.
For the right price.
For the right price.
Based on their life scenario.
And position that success in a way that puts the customer in a positive light as well. But it gets lost. And so again, kind of like this video, we're going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But it really is. We're gonna go and celebrate everything, but are you celebrating the right things? And
at
are
the
you
right times for the right reasons?
And are your employees feeling the same way about things that you as a leader are, and as your customer is? And it's just the way some of these things are positioned. It just seems like there's a lot of emphasis on one aspect and not the others. I don't see a lot of posts out there that I can recall that it's like, wow, this consumer really won today, or this employee experience was elevated because of this. It's like, no,
this customer made big leaps in their life. And so
food for thought.
Yeah.
It's,
and you know what?
If you take the time,
prove us.
Prove us wrong.
Oh,
totally prove us wrong.
We want to hear success stories for your
Absolutely.
clients. We want to hear success stories of your team. We want to hear success stories of your business that are completely blowing this out of the water.
Totally.
We would love that because it's a passion of ours. This is why we do what we do, because
Absolutely.
we have so much heart behind it and it means so much to us. So you know what? If you have something that proves this all, just do it. Send us a DM, comment, share this video.
This video
is meant to be thought-provoking.
This video is 16 minutes long, and if you have decided to carve 16 minutes out of your life to watch this rant,
you can carve.
Then thank you.
30 seconds.
For starters, absolutely thank you for listening.
Yeah.
We hope it's provided some compelling argument and some thought-provoking information for you to consider. Because I don't think the intentionality behind this stuff is bad. It is all in how it's positioned, and there would be so much more value that could be created if you take the time to
successes and
to look at the purpose behind why you're doing what you're doing, and does it really make sense? Engage your employees before you send them on a retreat. Engage them. What do you want a retreat to look like? How is this going to elevate you as
engage your customers?
Yep, engage your customers.
Yeah.
If you want to bring the consultants in, but they should be kind of helping
Bringing
you bridge
together.
those things together.
Yeah. They should be the flour in your baking.
Absolutely.
They should be bringing it all together, not being all the ingredients.
And if we're completely off our rocker, and some of you are going to watch this and think, yeah, we're lunatics, that's great. You're entitled to your opinion. For those of you that don't think that and you want to talk about it, we would absolutely love to hear from you, because like Danae said, super passionate about it, and we want to see people elevate and love what they do, and so everybody wins, not just a microcosm of that. So anyways,
want to hear from you.
Soapbox over. Cheers.
Thanks for watching.